my last sashing strip, and so again, I told you I knew that I had a little bit of extra. I am beyond the length I need, and I still have a wrap, because if you remember, I did trash the one that was right near the edge. I just don't like my seams right there. So I can pick and choose. I know that I'm gonna need to have 2 seams. I don't mind this start down here because it's far enough away from the edge. So I think that's a keeper, and I don't have to make any adjustments. But again, I'm gonna go ahead and just get this on. I wanna make sure and watch where my measurement lands. So here's the join, and I'm way over here. So I'm pretty good with that. I'm gonna go ahead and accept it. I'm gonna cut this last one. Again, I slide my ruler under. I don't let my tape measure slip, but I slide the ruler under, find the measurement on the tape, line it up with a bottom piece, and throw away the tape measure so you don't trim it, and cut. All right, so now I have all of my sashing strips cut. They're here, plus this one. What do you do with them? So I'm gonna go ahead now, and by the way, just a reminder, these are all cut at the exact same length. 4 out of my 6 rows are the same length, and that's what I ended up measuring this to. So the other ones, I'm gonna ease them in and out. How do you do that? I'm gonna take it and fold it in half. Oh, and this is a directional fabric, by the way. So I'm gonna fold it in half, and I'm gonna pin, let me think, on the first one, it goes on top. So because it's a directional fabric, I wanna know where I'm going. It's folded in half, and I'm gonna just finger crease, and I'm gonna, little Tula turtle. It's a little pin cushion with some thread catcher on it. I'm gonna go ahead and mark my center. I'm gonna mark it with a pin. It's really important. I'm marking the center on that little finger crease so that I know where the middle of this strip is. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold to the middle so I can find the quarter points. So I have lined up the pin with my fold the best that I can, and I'm gonna finger crease that quarter mark, take a pin, and put it in there. I'm gonna do the next side, come from the end, fold to the middle pin, finger crease it, open it up, and my pin goes there. All right, so you mark the middle and the quarter points, and you do that for all of them. Then the next step is going to be to get your row. I need to go with the first row. And if I want my sashing strips to match the rows that I built, then I have to do the same process to this as I did to the sashing. So I'm going to take my entire row. I want to find the middle. So here we go, end to end. My center of this row is right here, so I finger press it. I'm gonna open it up and put a pin where I finger pressed it. I have my center. I'm gonna take my edge, fold it in because I'm looking for my quarter points. Oh, maybe you can hear that. Kind of just scratch it in, do whatever you can. And voila. So this is a quarter point, the midpoint, and then I need to do it for this side. Scratch it in, mark it with a pin. All right. So I did all this for a reason, to help me edge everything in together, ease it in so that everything matches up. The one that I take with the pins, I now lay on top, remember right sides together, and these pins have to sit on top of each other. You have to make them do that. So this is what, I'll show you how I do it. I'm gonna start in the middle one, and this pin has to match this pin, and rest them on top, edges flat. I'm gonna take one out and pin it together. And now my sashing and my row are connected in the middle point. I'm not gonna move this pin for any reason. Now, I have to come and go out and do the quarter points. I don't care what's happening anywhere else right now. I want pin to match pin. So again, I'm gonna get these on top of each other. I don't need the second one, but I wanna pin these together and hold. Again, don't worry about all this. We have a third pin to do. I'm gonna line them up on top of each other. I'll remove one of them as I hold the fabric, and then I will come in and pin it together. I'm not ready to sew though, because it's still kind of a mess and it's a really long row, so I don't want to lose where I go. I like pins, or I like to use the little glue basting system. That works really well too. For this video, I'm just going to show the pinning. Your quarter and your half pins, never move. Don't readjust them. Don't think that you need to fidget. If I have a problem and I ended up short, I have to fix it in this section. Or if I have too much. Right now what I'm going to do is take my end and I'm going to match the end to the end. I'm going to have a pin there to hold it because that's what I like to do. And then I can see what happened in here. Is it flat with flat? Do they line up, or is one a little bit short, one has too much? In my opinion, this looks pretty good, so I'm gonna leave it, but I'm gonna add more pins because pins are my friends, and I need to find the middle of my new section. And if you notice, I kind of have a fancy pin for my quarter point because that tells me that is a pin holding my spot, don't move it. So I'm gonna come in, I'll pin the middle. I'm gonna kind of watch where the seams are, I felt that. And I'll pin there. I would pin again, so I'm gonna pin in between this one, and I'll pin in between this, but remember, I'm not moving that one. So I'll line them up, pin in, and one more. If I felt like a problem was happening, then I would pin in between here, or I'd pin in between here. You keep splitting the difference. That's what you do. So first section is done. I can go on to the next section and see how these are lying. And I'm gonna continue that process all the way down the edge. Here's my middle, here's my quarter. I'm gonna start with a pin in the center. It's a rough guesstimate where the center is. And I'm gonna look and see, do I have any bubbling in here? Do I have something too much, too short? To me, it looks good. I'm gonna keep going. So this is too far a distance for me. I feel like I would lose accuracy. The seams would slip and slide away from each other. So I'm gonna have a pin to hold it in place for myself. I have to split the difference here and go to that pin. When I pin, I also want to be aware of the seams on the back because I don't want to flip any of those seams when they go through the machine. All right, so I have pinned half of it, and now I just have one more half to deal with. Again, I'm never going to remove those fancy ones because they tell me they're important and they're splitting the difference or holding it where it goes. In here, we look pretty good. I'm gonna judge just about what is the center between those two. And then I'm gonna move myself along. Anything that needs to be adjusted now has to be adjusted in this small section, not anywhere else. But remember, my numbers came out pretty good. I wasn't too far off. So this one is going easily. And it's over here. Oh, I feel a seam in the back. So I made sure that the pin went over and didn't flip the seams. I have just one more section. The important thing is the end has to match the end. Remember, I'm not sewing on and cutting to fit. I cut these to this size and I'm gonna make them fit each other. So I'm gonna start by pinning the end to end, because I don't want it to slip around and move on me. And then I can look and see what happened in here, and it looks pretty flat. I'll split the difference. I'll split the difference again. And one more time. Okay, I feel confident that I can take this over to my sewing machine now and sew it. All right, I've moved to my sewing machine. I'm ready to attach the row sashing to the row. I showed you how to pin it and put it all together. So I'm at the machine now, ready to go. It's really long and it's full of pins, owie. And so do whatever you can to kind of wrangle all of this until it gets going. I do have pins, and so I'm gonna slow my machine down just a little bit. I'm gonna get started. I stop and I pull my pins out and I put them in my friend. And then I keep going until I get to the next one. I'm gonna stop when I come to the pin. I happen to have a foot that will lift a little bit, so it helps me get the pin out. I had a teacher who told me a great thing: pins are our friends and we never run over our friends. Don't sew over the pins. It will hurt and damage the machine. It'll break a needle, something will happen, and you don't want that. So I'm gonna just keep sewing until I get all the way there. And I'm just really letting the machine take it. There's a pin, stop, remove it, sew on. And that's what I do until I get to the very end of it. But it really helps. It helps the fabric from slipping away from each other, getting out of position. You know, you don't have to go a million miles an hour. Oh, and there's my first quarter point because it's my fancy pin. So I know that one is good. I've made it that far, and now I only have a few more lengths to do to sew all the way. Keep going. I'll see you at the end in just a moment. Okay, so I got to the end and I have the sashing all sewn on. So now, and you can see I ended exactly like end to end and they're even. I can't stress it enough. Don't attach a piece and just cut to fit because you will end up with too much fabric or too short. Your quilt will not lay flat, but you want it to end like this. And next I go, I'll press it. Well, I'll finish all my rows with the sashing. I'll press them and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Sew yourself a beautiful day, everyone.